Fourth house, very important house because it's an angular house. The fourth house is what you can always go to figure out how does a person feel emotionally, or how do they feel, what is their consistent way of being in their heart. If you've got malefic planets there, Saturn, maybe they're more prone to depression. K2, more of a controlling nature. Malefic moon or a waning moon, sometimes when it's badly aspected, like by Mars or by Saturn, that can give some anxiety to the person's life, or to their inner emotional environment, basically. Overall, the fourth house relates to the mother, the home, and our emotional happiness, as well as our vehicles. Which means that if you want to see the relationship to the mother, we'll look to the influences on the fourth house. Are they good? Are they bad? Is Mercury there in good dignity? Maybe the person is friendly towards their mother, has a good friendship with their mother. Is Saturn there with Mars? Maybe there's a contentious relationship, or very frustrating relationship with the mother. Again, you want to consider what are the planets, their innate qualities, and how are they impacting this house. Vehicles, that's something else to consider. Whatever the qualities of the planet are, that will be added to the person's experience with vehicles, as well as the home environment. Oftentimes people who have Rahu in the fourth house will end up either moving around a lot, or they don't feel real settled in their home, or they end up living in a foreign country. Influences of Rahu to the fourth house, or influences of Rahu to Cancer, that can oftentimes show someone who ends up spending a lot of time in foreign lands or foreign countries. Again, the fourth house represents the personal home environment, and that the emotional atmosphere within that home environment. Planets in the house describe the kind of home that someone's attracted to. I know many people who have the fourth house as a water sign, and they like being near water, near oceans, near rivers, near lakes. Now, they don't always get there because there can be frustration around that, which means they want to live there, but they're thwarted from their activities in that regard. So there are other things to look at. Planets in the fourth really express themselves more intimately. So these aren't going to be the things that you really immediately see when you meet someone, or that you immediately let people see. That's more first house issues. These are more energies or indications that you experience after you get to know someone, after they let you just see how are they deep inside. The fourth house shows the capacity to form family bonds. If you have a good fourth house, you might be close to your family, or you might have a need for family bonds, strong family bonds. If you have difficulties with the fourth house, family bonds might be difficult, or you might not really think about it, might not be of interest to you. And again, this goes back to that idea in our previous video, previous talk on the third house, that we're all different. So knowing what's going on in the fourth house can show, is this person family oriented? That can be very good for compatibility. Maybe you are family oriented and you want to be with someone who's family oriented, but you keep getting people with negative fourth houses, so it kind of pushes things away. Now, there are reasons for that, but anyway, when you're looking at people's charts, you can consider this. The fourth house can show, are we at ease inside? Do we feel like we belong? Do we feel comfortable being at home? Do we feel comfortable with domestic affairs? Those are when we have good planets influencing that fourth house, or the fourth lord is strong and well supported. It's really the level of contentment and happiness that we can achieve, or that we experience naturally, our emotional well-being. A lot of times when people have difficulties with the fourth house, they get involved in practices like meditation because they're dissatisfied with the world. And so always remember, usually bad things can be good for something. So having negativity within your chart, if you really want to have worldly success, well, that might not be given to you. But difficulties breed detachment, and with intelligence, when they're used intelligently, they can help us let go of our identification with these aspects of the world that we think are going to bring us happiness and success, like a new car, or that right spouse, or the career that's going to make everything work well for us, or just that perfect amount of money. But you start to learn that none of that really happens. You can have the best sex in the world, you can have all the money you want, you can have stability in your home, but there'll always be something that bugs you. And only through learning to let go of that, learning to find out what is this all about, where does all this come from, what's the deal with this transient nature of the world and what is eternal, that's where this real contentment and happiness comes. So we always need to remember that. Oh, the fourth house can deal with the chest and the heart region. So afflictions to the fourth house can show afflictions to the heart or afflictions to the chest region of the body. And again, you want to make sure that those afflictions are both to the fourth house within the birth chart and to Cancer. If you see similar afflictions, then you know there might be difficulties with that area. If it's Mars and Ketu, maybe the person's going to need to get surgery on that area. If it's Saturn, maybe the person is going to have some sort of vata issue with that area of their chart. They're prone to coldness, not difficulty with circulation. The fourth house and Cancer can be related to the circulatory system. The fourth house deals with land and property. If you get the fourth lord in the second or the fourth lord in the 10th, oftentimes the person will manage property or deal with property. If they're malefic or bad, then they can always be a source of stress. Also, conveyances and vehicles. Fourth lord in the 10th or second, maybe the person deals in vehicles, works on vehicles possibly. Usually the third lord has to be involved there too, because the third lord and Mars are more mechanically based. So one other point about that, going down that route, is that, again, you're not going to just find one planet in one spot and say, this means that. There's usually a combination of things. Like, you have to have a good third lord and a good Mars to make a person good technically or interested in mechanics of things, engineering. Mercury makes a person good with their hands. So if we want to see someone who's going to be working on houses, well, then we need to see, well, how's their third lord, how's their Mars, how's their Mercury, and are there any kind of combinations there? It's much different nowadays. Back when Brihat-Parashara, Horashastra, and Jaimini Sutras was used, there are a few things you could be. You could be a farmer, you could be a servant, you could be a king, a blacksmith. There's probably under 10 occupations, we'll just say, that you might have been able to be back in those days. But now, with the way the world is, there's so many occupations and so many things that you have to do. For example, being an astrologer. Well, I don't just sit around and look at charts all day. I also have to be a good writer, a good speaker. I have to be able to work with technology. I have to do my own advertising, my own marketing, deal with websites. So you see, when it comes to career, they're not always that cut and dry. Someone might be involved in health and human resources or health and human services, which is a caring profession, but they might have a strong Mercury, which makes them a manager. So they're not actually going out and working with individuals, working with families, or working with children who have problems. Maybe they're a manager, and so they send people out. So there's a lot to consider, but it's fun. It's fun as you go along and you figure these things out. Now one more, let's review. Specific indications. Fourth house represents the mother, relationship to the mother. Our capacity for happiness and contentment. The heart, the emotions, the chest area. Fixed assets, such as land and property, real estate and buildings. Agricultural affairs, gardens, farmlands. Comforts, luxuries, and conveyances. Oftentimes when someone has a really well-placed fourth lord or has Venus in the fourth house, they'll have a luxurious home or luxurious vehicles. The fourth house represents conveyances, vehicles. Academic education is included in that. The end of life. What is a person's state going to be like when they die? Why? Because the state of your heart shows the state of your inner contentment, the state of your emotional well-being. It can indicate what your death is going to be like. The Karaka planets, or the indicators for the fourth, are the moon and Mercury. So again, assess the fourth house, assess the fourth lord, then look at moon and Mercury. See what lines up, what's pointing in the same direction. And always remember the fourth house is an angular house, or one of the angles. I didn't mention this in the last video, or the last talk, because I forgot, but the primary Varga for the third house that you want to look at is the Drekana. That'll give you more information about all the things that we talked about with the third house. It will also give you more information in regards to the timing of events. That's the way the Vargas work. They really help us understand the timing of particular events in specific areas of our life. And for the fourth house, the important Varga is the Chaturtamsha, or the fourth Varga. And that can show our ability to accept a good fortune in life, and also our ability to have wealth or have resources above and beyond our needs. Hora, those are the resources that we need to survive, the food we need to eat, the money that we need. The fourth divisional chart and the fourth house show having above and beyond what we need. And that's where you start having 3 cars instead of 1. Actually, 1 car is considered to be a luxury if you think about the world. And here in America, everyone seems to need to have a car, depending on where they live. But in other countries, it's not always that way. So we need to keep that in mind. I remember listening to Ernst Wilhelm talk one time, and he said even having a grocery store is a luxury. And if you live in a country or an area where you can just walk down the street to get groceries, there's your food. Well, that's a luxury. It's right there. People bring it in and give it to you. You just have to pay for it. But again, other parts of the world, food, water, these aren't things that are luxuries. These are real needs that people have. So we always have to keep in mind the rest of the world, because the way we are living or the way we see things doesn't always line up with what's going on elsewhere. So you want to avoid living in your bubble and be aware of what's going on, because maybe you get a client from another country, and if you know a little bit about that country, then you can speak to them a little more intelligently about their situation. But anyway, that's a topic for another time. So consider all this with the fourth house, and next we'll be looking at the trinal house, the fifth house.